If I'd gotten this item sooner, I would have had such a better time on my early hiking and backpacking trips. I would have been able to hike longer and with less injuries. This buckle repair kit is another item I wish I had gotten sooner for the peace of mind that it brings me when I'm out on trail. I've never had a buckle break on my pack when out on a trip, but I can imagine it could be pretty devastating and potentially a trip ruiner. So when I heard about this little buckle from Justin with It's Good in the Woods, I had to throw it in my pack because I can see such a good use for it in those extreme circumstances where a buckle does break. The way this works is pretty ingenious. Let's use the shoulder strap buckle as an example. Let's say this breaks due to it being stepped on, or you slammed into a rock, or it just breaks because it's gotten pretty brittle. This little buckle replacement system is gonna be able to fix that for you. The magic is in this screw that goes through the buckle. So the way it works is that you undo that screw and then you go to the webbing loop that used to attach the buckle that broke to your pack, and then you thread the screw through that webbing, and then you can take your webbing that adjusts and then thread that through the rest of the buckle, and then you have a working system again. That may have not been the best explanation, but let me tell you, looking at this in person, you can see how useful it will be. The only thing that I would make sure when you're considering which one to get is they do come in a bunch of different sizes, and it's important to make sure that the one that you do get is gonna fit probably the widest, most critical buckles. So I would say the shoulder strap buckles are probably ones that are gonna break the most often, followed by maybe your hip belt buckles. I never really get blisters on backpacking or hiking trips, but my feet get pretty crusty after many days on trail and a long trip. But if you do get blisters, toe socks are gonna be the answer to all of your woes. Toe socks create little mini socks for each of your toes, separating them and making it so that they don't rub against each other and cause blisters as you hike. I prefer socks made of synthetic material because they hold on to less moisture and dry faster, which I find also helps reduce blisters and increase foot comfort. You can pick up my favorite toe socks from the sponsor of today's video, Garage Grown Gear. I've tried pretty much every toe sock under the sun, and let me tell you why ExoSkins are my go-to. I've used other brands where durability was a bit of an issue. Using a pair on the Great Divide Trail, after about 15, 16 days of constant use, they would fall apart on me. Whereas I've been using the same 2 pairs of ExoSkins for the last year and haven't had any issues with them. Look at them, they look pretty much brand new. Something the founder of Garage Grown Gear, Lloyd, can probably appreciate as well is the relatively low stink factor with ExoSkins. They use technologies which help reduce stink, and normally, after a handful of days on trail, my socks can pretty much stand up on their own. But with ExoSkins, it's not nearly as bad. Scan that QR code or check out the links in the video description in order to go take a look at ExoSkins for yourself over at Garage Grown Gear. I'll also have links in the video description to all the gear that we're talking about today. I alluded to it in the beginning, but these shoes have changed the game for me when it comes to hiking longer and avoiding injuries. And it's not these specific shoes, but barefoot shoes in general. It's shoes with a wide toe box, 0 drop, and then a very thin minimalist sole. I've been using these shoes for the last several years as part of my training in order to improve foot strength and optimal foot function. Since slowly using barefoot shoes more and more as part of my daily wear and training, my feet feel and are working way better than they were 5 years ago. I wish I'd started using barefoot shoes sooner, because every year that I was using super cushioned shoes all day and then cramming my foot into really narrow shoes, I was causing more and more irreversible damage. If you're interested in learning more about barefoot training, then go check out a podcast that I've started. It's called the Gear Priority Podcast. I'll have links in the video description. I have an entire podcast where I talk to Chase Mountains about how to train your feet and obtain optimal foot function. You guys are probably pretty sick and tired of me talking about the backcountry bidet like the one from KuloClean, but it's an item that I really wish I had gotten sooner. I really do, because my butt has never been cleaner and it's just a lot fresher on trail. I just feel a lot better about it, and I'm using less toilet paper. It's better for leave no trace. All around, wish I'd started using a backcountry bidet sooner, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm gonna go on record and say that the Deuce of Spades trowel is one of the most overrated items out there. I do love that it's helping people dispose of their waste properly in a cat hole in order to practice leave no trace principles. But if you've ever encountered rocky or rooty or just hard ground, then you know how painful it is to dig a hole with this. It has sharp edges, the end is just really not comfortable to hold, and as you try and push it into the ground, it's just causing damage to your hand. So after discovering trowels that have serrated edges in order to help cut through rooty ground, as well as ergonomic shapes and ends in order to help your hand be more comfortable as you're pushing into the ground, I just haven't looked back. After years of using good trowels like the Bogler trowel and the Vargo Dig Dig, I wish I hadn't spent years suffering with trowels like the Deuce. And that's not to mention those cheap plastic shovels that just snap as soon as you try to use them. Go check out this video if you want to see me do a live demonstration of using the backcountry bidet, as well as go over a bunch of the ultralight and minimalist gear that I bring on backpacking trips, including a lot of the gear other than the chair that I'm bringing on this trip.